welcome to Something to Talk About.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I'm doing one of those remakes, one of those agains for a character I don't want to talk about as long as I have to talk about him today. We're talking about Boros Blount. Again, the food taster, Boros the Belly. And yeah, if you don't know what's going on, here you go. Possible spoilers for the show. I do these all in one take. I just rant at you. And yes, I read off the screen. Hopefully you don't mind that. Some people care. That's fine. Yeah, I'm sure you know how long this video is. I don't, but I know how long my script is. And when I first covered this character, I wasn't getting in depth. It was like a lot more like way more smaller, compacted. And now that I cover as much as I do, and I want to give this character the same due that I give other characters, I probably would never have covered a character this big. So I'm about to talk about Boros Blount way more than I ever wanted to. This is a very big script. I'm very upset about it. My controller died. That's what that noise was. I'm sure anyone with a PlayStation did that. Let's just get into it with Boros the Belly. Boros Blount is a knight from... Oh, wait. Small trigger warning, violence on a Sansa. So, yeah, it gets a little violent. So if you don't want to hear that, don't. All right. Boros Blount is a knight from House Blount who serves in the Kingsguard of Robert Baratheon. Boros is an ugly man. It's in the lore. All right, this isn't an opinion. It's part of the lore. He's just ugly. With a broad chest, short and bandy legs, he has a flat nose and jowls. Yeah, we talk about his, like, people just talk about his jowls. Bran Stark considers him bald, while Sansa notices brittle gray hair, just a little bit of gray hair. Boros is shorter and heavier than his fellow Kingsguard, Jaime Lannister, because everyone is compared to Jaime Lannister. Boros is short-tempered. Jaime thinks of him as an adequate fighter, but nothing more than an ordinary knight. Lord Varys considers Boros to be loyal to Queen Cersei Lannister, which we'll get into. Many characters think of Boros with contempt due to the man's cowardice. In Dorne, Sir Aerys Oakheart thinks about him, and he has a familiarity with the Street of Silk in King's Landing. Yeah, when Aerys Oakheart is like, it's not a big deal that I'm sleeping with the princess. He's like, Boros Blount sees chicks at the Street of Silk. It's fine. Whatever you got to say to make yourself feel better there, Aerys. I hope your story goes good. The chubby knight usually wears long white cloak and white steel plate of Kingsguard. He wields a sword and a white shield and has a high white helm. Boros is sometimes attired in white velvet. Guy likes a lot of his white, with a snowy cloak fastened with a golden lion brooch and tiny ruby eyes. Yeah, he wears a lion brooch. He does serve the Lannisters, but you think that he would wear a hedgehog brooch. Why a hedgehog? Well, because that's what's on House Blount's sigils. It's a really cool sigil for a really not that cool dude. I love the Blount sigil. I love the hedgehogs. I just want you guys to know that. House Blount is a noble house from the Crownlands. They blazon their arms with the red bend sinister between two black porcupines on green. I will not keep going on side rants, but anytime you see a red bend sinister like this, a lot of times, not any time, but a lot of times, is because it's actually a bastard sigil. So are you trying to tell me that Blount is an ancient house that was actually a bastard of a different house with green hedgehogs on black? Maybe. I don't want to rule it out because the red bend sinister, the red slash. I don't want to rule it out. They're possibly bastards from House Hedgehog. I'm throwing it out there. All right. A member of the house was at the tourney at Harrenhal, where his squire took part in beating Howland Reed. The Blount Knight was later defeated in the tourney by the Knight of the Laughing Tree, who defeated him and told him to teach his squire some honor. some advice from a Stark, most likely Lyanna. All right, moving on. Before the belly, I'm guessing. We don't actually know when he got his belly, but I'm assuming he wasn't a chubby chubster when he first joined the Kingsguard. And I'm not talking crap about chubby chubsters. I'm a chubby chubster. That's why I cover so many chubbies. I do. I cover a lot of like big knights because I don't know. I got a kinship with them. Little kinship with him. It is unknown when Boros joined the Kingsguard. He may have joined in the aftermath of Robert's Rebellion when the White Cloaks had 5 vacancies. Probably, right? Blount is confirmed to have been at Kingsguard during the time of the Greyjoy Rebellion in 289 AC, however. Boros took part in the tourney at Lannisport 289 AC as well, so right after, because it was a tourney held at Lannisport to celebrate King Robert I Baratheon's victory over the Greyjoy Rebellion. So after a rebellion, after a war, you throw a tourney, right? During which Boros Blount was defeated by the eventual champion, Sir Jorah Mormont, Lord of Bear Isle. He doesn't go on to become one of the most important characters, does he? All right. We're not talking about anyone important, though. We're talking about Boros Blount, so let's keep going. The Knight of the Kingsguard, with his sworn brothers, Sir Meryn Trant and Sir Jaime Lannister. That's a reference someone's going to get. Boros escorts Robert Baratheon to Winterfell. Remember that? It's like 3rd chapter or something. When he's he's just in the background a lot, right? But he's in the background all the way until all when Ned's daughters come all the way south back to King's Landing, right? When Ned and Sansa and Arya travel all the way south. During the time of the Hands tourney, which I spelled wrong here, I think. It's funny. Lord Varys tells Ned that Boros and Meryn Trant, despite their oaths to Robert, are Queen Cersei Lannister's creatures. So, yeah, it's a big creature. Boros, a big one. Big old creature. What do you feed him? We'll get to that, actually. Skipping all the way after the death of Robert. So, yeah, we're moving. This dude's around from the beginning of the books all the way to the end, literally the last chapter he's in. So, we just got so much of stuff where he's just in the background or hitting somebody. Skipping all the way to the death of Robert and the arrest of Nettie. Sansa and Jane Poole are locked up in her room. Sir Boros Blount comes for her on the 3rd day, resolved to be a lady no matter what. Sansa's a lady. Sansa compliments the ugly knight, saying, "You look handsome and splendid this morning, Sir Boros." And Boros replies, "And you, my lady." Oh, you're dumb too, huh? All right. He leads her out of Maegor's holdfast, where she sees a body impaled on the spikes of the dry moat. That's lovely. Rather than being taken to the queen's apartments, where Sansa thought she was going to be, she is taken to the council chamber and presented to Queen Cersei and the small council. Though her prince is not there, and she had, like she was hoping, there she is informed that her father is a traitor, and is persuaded to write a letter for her relatives explaining what happened. The queen tasks Boros with delivering Jane Poole to Lord Peter Baelish, lying and saying that Littlefinger will take her to her father, and that should calm Jane Poole down. Some nasty bit of business going on there with Jane Poole. I don't think I'll ever cover Jane Poole. Nope. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But yeah, Jane was crying the entire time when she was locked up with Sansa for those couple days, and eventually, she gets handed over to Littlefinger, and she has an amazing life. She goes upstate to hang out with the dogs all up there. Nothing bad happens to our beautiful angel Jane Poole. All right. Selmy's departure. Sansa attends King Joffrey's first court session. Joffrey and Cersei are announced by the herald and enter escorted by members of the Kingsguard, including Boros Blount. That's who we're talking about. Once he is settled on the throne, Joffrey declares that it is a king's duty to punish the disloyal and reward the faithful, and asks Grand Maester Pycelle to read his royal decrees. The list of those that must be present, the list of those that must be present themselves to swear fealty goes on and on for a long time. Queen Cersei stands and calls for Sir Barristan Selmy. So after all that, she proceeds to thank the old knight for his many years of service in the Kingsguard, but declares that it is time that it comes to an end and he has set aside his burden, right? The burden of that white cloak that you love. Sir Barristan is plainly stunned and protests that only death may relieve a Kingsguard and of his sacred trust. The situation starts to get out of hand, right? A lot of things are being thrown around. People are messing it, right? It gets out of hand fast. Varys tries to calm it, but after Littlefinger makes a joke, a naked knight. You guys know the joke. After everybody laughs, including Boros Blount. That's why he's mentioned here, because he laughs at a naked knight. The gall on Boros Blount, on any of these guys, right? To laugh at Barristan Selmy's face. That's dangerous game. Right? He's still the most dangerous dude in the room. Probably best fighting knight there. And it's like, naked knight. And then Barristan's it's like, oh, sorry. Yeah, the gall on you. All right, where was I? So the situation starts to get out of hand. The laughter ends abruptly when Sir Barristan draws his sword. Yes, but the old knight insists they should have no fear, even though he could still cut down the remaining 5 Kingsguard with ease, like carving a cake. God. Oh, yes. All right. Anyways, he adds in disgust that any man who would serve under the Kingslayer does not deserve a white cloak because Jaime Lannister is getting named Lord Commander after this. Then he throws his sword at the foot of the Iron Throne, declaring Joffrey to, "Here, boy, melt it down and add it to the others." Amazing. It is then announced that Sandor Clegane will fill the vacancy created by the departure of Sir Barristan. To this, Boros says, "The sworn brothers of the Night's Watch have always been knights." But it is quickly rebuffed. Yeah, no one cares. No rules. No rules. Regime change, constitution. Rules get thrown out the window. All right. Skulls and Jowls. If you guys want to start a punk band called Skulls and Jowls, I am all for it. I do not have any musical talent, which is why I said punk band. You just got to be a punk. It's a Cheech and Chong reference. Sir Aerys Oakheart arrives to escort Sansa to the tourney of King Joffrey's name day. Sir Aerys compliments Sansa on her gown, which was a gift from Joff. The long sleeves hide the bruises all over her, which are also a gift from Joff. Yeah, awful. When King Crapface learned that her brother Robb had been proclaimed King of the North, he sent Sir Boros Blount to beat her. This is fantastic. I'm glad I'm talking about this guy. She likes Aerys, but found Boros short-tempered. Aerys is the only one who objects to hitting her, and when he has to, he never hits hard. Boros and Trant always obey without question, except for Sandor, but Joffrey never commands the Hound to hit her. So, yeah, on her way back to the Godswood, Sansa runs in. Oh, yeah, so she goes to the Godswood, and I think this is when she runs into Dantos Hollard, I think is at this point. But on the way back from the Godswood, she runs into a different drunk, a different guy who's drunk, and that's Sandor Clegane. So, yeah, she runs into the drunken Sandor, who mocks her and then walks her back to, the chambers. It's a really, love-hate, love-mock relationship, right? I'm not saying love because I ship them. I know some of you guys probably do, but, yeah, I do not ship those two. Upon their return, they find Sir Boros Blount guarding the drawbridge. Sansa flinches away, thinking Boros Boros is the worst of the Kingsguard, an ugly man with a foul temper, all scowls and jowls. Great punk band name, guys. I'm sticking with this. The Hound insists Blount is not to be feared. That one is nothing to fear, girl. Paint stripes on a toad, he does not become a tiger. Yeah. Bars from the Hound. Boros asks why she is not in her chambers, and Sansa tells her lie about the Godswood, right? I'm just praying in the Godswood. The Hound adds that she could not be expected to sleep with all that noise. Yeah, there's like a commotion going on, right? And Sir Boros explains that preparations for Tyrion Lannister's wedding feast have convinced some wretches that they should also feast. So they kind of like did a little mini riot, too. He adds that Joffrey led a sortie to set the fools scurry. So yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, their prize family horse, Tyrion Lannister, is marrying a baby. These books are crazy. You guys ever notice that? These books are weird. And everyone's mad about it. So there's a little, before the riots, a little mini riot because the riots haven't happened yet. And Joffrey, our brave boy, is what the Hound calls him right after this. I didn't keep this in. Rise out to take care of him, right? Doing this, playing drums. He goes play drums for him, get him to stop. Okay, serving his king. But by the way, that means that this video is going to be about him beating up a girl. Serving his king. Sansa is called before Joffrey to pay for her brother's latest victory at Oxcross. She is led to the lower Bailey, where a crowd is gathered looking away as she passes. Yeah, they're all like, oh I don't see her. Dantos whispers to her, be brave. So yeah, Dantos is like the fool at this point, and he's like jumping around on a broom or whatever. He's doing fool stuff, but he's about to do some more stuff. Joff stands with Boros and Trant besides him. She kneels before him, but Joff snaps that kneeling will not serve her, and she must answer for her brother's treasons. Right? Because that makes sense. After Joff acts like a little crap face for a bit, yeah, I'm leaving some stuff out, he demands the Hound hit her, but Sir Dantos intervenes, quote, fake beating her with his melon Morningstar. It probably still hurts to get hit with a melon. And also she gets like covered in melon juice. So Dantos is like, I'm going to get in the way so you don't get beat. But I'm sure it's not great to begin with. Like, I don't think that's very pleasant either. Yeah, so then he calls his Kingsguard, telling them to save her face. Sir Meryn Trant flings Dantos down. Yeah, get out of here, Dantos. Well, Sir Boros Blount slams a fist into Sansa's belly and then starts to lay in the flat of his blade across her thighs. Ouch! And the Hound rasps, enough. Yeah, the Hound wants this to stop. But the king orders Boros to make her naked, and he tears off the silk of her bodice, exposing her breasts. We're moving on. I know, it's horrible. She can hear sniggers as Joffrey orders her beat bloody. At that point, a voice demands, what is the meaning of this? That's my Tyrion, I guess. Sansa looks to see the arrival of a furious Tyrion Lannister, who is flanked by his sellswords and some tribesmen. Heck yeah, let's go, Tyrion. Tyrion asks Blount, is this your notion of chivalry, Sir Boros? What sort of knight beats helpless maids? To which Boros says, the sort who serves his king, imp. And draws his sword with Meryn stepping besides him, right? So they're about to challenge. They're like, all right, we're going to take down the hand of the king. That's not going to end badly. Bronn then warns them to be careful as they don't want to get blood all over their new white clothes. Yeah, Bronn's like, dude, in front of me, you think that's going to go well? Think that's going to go well? All right, we got a lot to do still. We got a long ways. The riot and Rosby. The riot in King's Landing breaks out when the royal family and the retainers are on their way back from the docks after seeing Princess Marcella off the door. In the mad rush, several members are lost, including Sansa Stark. And by the time Tyrion reaches the safety of the gates, their lives are in doubt. Tyrion commands Sir Boros and Sir Meryn to return and find Sansa and those missing. So yeah, Sansa went missing. And when the two Kingsguard bulk, Cersei begins to berate them as well for their cowardice. Sansa returns, saved by Sandor Clegane, who is covered in blood. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly how it happens in the show. I feel like a lot of this covers the show, like follows the show pretty well. Like these early seasons, absolutely. Later on, not so much, but I don't think Boros is even in it. But a lot of the events happen, right? So yeah, so Boros and Meryn Trant are constantly together, and I feel like in the show they just picked Meryn Trant, and he does like all the stuff there is in a Boros too. Okay, and they leave this whole next thing completely out of the show. Tyrion learns from Lancel Lannister, some hatwit who named him, right? Some halfwit with a stutter. That the Queen intends to hide Tommen away at Rosby under the care of good old Coffin Giles Rosby. I've covered Giles Rosby. Giles, whatever you want to call him. Concerned for the safety of her youngest son, Prince Tommen, Cersei tasks Boros and Giles with secretly bringing Tommen to the safety of Rosby. But Tyrion orders Jacelyn Bywater, Iron Hand, right? One of my favorite characters, who I've also covered, and Fitty Men, to take Tommen into custody before the boy reaches Rosby. Fitty Men. When Jocelyn's gold cloak stopped Giles' retinue on the road, Boros surrenders Tommen without a fight. He's kind of a coward. Tommen is watched over at Rosby by men loyal to Tyrion instead. So Tyrion agrees that it's good to keep Tommen out of the city, but it's better to be under his control, right? That's kind of the idea here. I already said that. Tommen is watched over at Rosby. So, livid at Boros' cowardice, Cersei and King Joffrey strip him of his white cloak, and then they name Sir Osmond Kettleblack replaces Boros on the Kingsguard. Yeah, Boros is no longer a Kingsguard. Until the next slide. So, Knight of the Kingsguard again. After the Battle of the Blackwater, Tyrion wakes up. Yeah, I'm skipping over Battle of the Blackwater here. Wakes up to learn from Bronn that Lord Jocelyn Bywater was killed by his own men during the Battle of the Blackwater. So Cersei has returned Tommen to the city, and the Kettleblacks, now all knights, are no longer working for Tyrion. Later, during a visit from Varys, he learns that Tywin Lannister, the new Hand of the King, reinstates Boros to the Kingsguard upon his return to fill the vacancy left by Sandor Clegane when the Hound deserted. Right? So what happened? Boros is a coward. They make him not a Kingsguard anymore. Now he's just big old Boros the Belly, not a Kingsguard, right? Sir Osmond Kettleblack takes his spot. Blackwater happens, right? And Sandor Clegane the Hound runs away. And then Tywin comes back, and Tywin don't suffer these games, and he just goes, Boros, you're a Kingsguard member again. F it, right? So, yeah, that's how he became one again. After the death of Joffrey at the Purple Wedding, Tyrion is charged with murder. What? Wasn't him. It was the one-armed man. During the trial of Tyrion for poisoning the king, after Trant talks of how Tyrion yelled at his nephew for beating Sansa, Boros recounts his side of the tale. Tyrion then asks Boros if he cares to share what Joffrey was doing, and Boros glared at Tyrion and says, "You told your savages to kill me if I opened my mouth. That's what I'll tell them." Yeah, Tyrion didn't make a lot of friends. And I know that a lot of people love Tyrion's time in King's Landing as Hand because he does make a couple cool moves, but pissing off everybody was his worst move. Tyrion does not make a lot of friends at King's Landing. So then when there's a trial, very few people are like, he's a good guy. Everyone's like, I don't know if they killed him, but he's a jerk. And that's what he gets from a lot of people, Boros included. So yeah. So after Boros and the Kettleblacks all speak, Cersei's last witness turns out to be Shae. Dun dun dun. If you don't know who Shae is, you won't get the dun dun dun. It's Tyrion's lover. She accuses Tyrion and Sansa of the murder. She tells the assembled court that she was an innocent girl before Tyrion abused her and turned her into his sex worker. And Shae lies on how Tyrion made her call him Giant of Lannister. Yeah, I don't think he made her. I think she does it first unprovoked, but I'm not sure. The public, including Boros, start to laugh. Yeah, I left that whole bit in just because Boros laughs. Kind of scraping the barrel for some of these things. Food taster of the Kingsguard. I love Sir Hart's art. So great. After one-handed Lord Commander Jaime Lannister returns, Jaime then receives the 5 Kingsguard currently under his command, right? He calls everybody in. We gotta regroup. I'm finally back. He looks around at the table and judges the men, thinking of Boros that he is a bag of growly air. He then tests each of them, asking them about Joffrey's death, shaming them for not stopping it. Causing Boros to ball his fists in anger, right? Boros agrees with his brothers that Tyrion must have been poisoned, or Tywin, no, I was right the first time, that Tyrion must have poisoned the wine cup, right? They all kind of come to that conclusion. Jaime makes Boros the official food taster of the new king. Boros is enraged that at this turning red, and he states, I am no food taster. I am a knight of the Kingsguard. And Jaime shames him for giving up Tommen and to the sellswords back when he was taking him to Rosby, saying that peas and carrots are less threatening. Boros explodes at how Jaime, the Kingslayer, is who's shaming him. He's like, I won't deal with this from you. He says, so he goes, I won't suffer this. You should be a food taster, it seems to me. What else is a cripple good for? Yeah, that's some mean stuff to say. When Jaime smiles, Jaime smiles at oh, all right, let's go. And states that they can duel if Boros is unhappy. Boros then spits at Jaime's feet. He hawks a loogie, right? And he leaves the room angrily. So Jaime thinks it is good that he left. Though fat and aging, Boros probably still would have won the duel. Boros and the other Kingsguard stand guard to keep the crowd away when Sir Gregor Clegane duels Prince Oberyn Martell in Tyrion's trial by combat. Boros becomes distracted by the duel, however, and Gregor kills a random stable boy who just stands too close to the fighting. You had one job, Boros. You're supposed to keep people away from where they're fighting, and the stable boy just gets murked. Good job, Boros. Suck. All right. We're getting there, guys. I told you, this is a lot. More than I've ever wished to talk about Boros Blount. Cersei has a nightmare, right, featuring Tyrion mocking her. She is awoken to be informed of Lord Tywin's murder. Cersei is still drowsy and believes the Kingsguard knights who have been sent by Lord Commander for Jaime himself. She's like, oh, Jaime, and expects Tyrion to crawl from under her bed and laugh at her, although she knows that he is safely in his black cell and awaiting execution. Sure, that's where he is. Don't worry about it. Yeah, his execution will take place the same day. She drank too much last night. That's what she thinks. She now recognizes Jocelyn Swift and Osmond Kettleblack and Boros Blount, and Lannister guards, right? So it's not Jaime at all. She just drank too much, and it's these guys. Osmond, all right. Well, she is being handed lemon water to help wake her up, help her with that headache. Boros gets sent to the cells to check on Tyrion. Lord of Boros returns red-faced and puffing, maybe because of the steps, I'm assuming, announcing that Tyrion is gone. His cell open with no sign of him anywhere. Cersei is appalled, thinking her nightmares are coming true. Sir Boros states that the jailer called Rugen has gone missing with 2 others who were found asleep. She orders for them to be killed. She's like, oh, yeah, those guys are asleep? Well, blame them, kill them. Remembering the prophecy she once received about her little brother killing her. Yeah, the Valonqar. You guys know this one. She's going nuts. She's going crazy. She gets queasy, and Sir Boros tries to sustain her, like tries to hold her up, right? But she recoils from her touch. Ugh, I'm not feeling that bad, Boros. Don't touch me. Thinking that the Knight of the Kingsguard might be one of Tyrion's creatures too, he offers her a cup of water, but all she wants is Tyrion's blood. The two bozos, the 2 bozos here are Osmond and Boros, right? Are later reprimanded by their Lord Commander, Sir Jaime Lannister, for mindlessly killing the 2 leads in the mystery. Yeah, Cersei has the 2 guards who were sleeping killed, but that's like your leads. That's your only witnesses. Oh, man. Cersei's not smart. All right. Not looking great. Yeah, this is our last one before the last one. It's our second to last one. Penultimate slide. Not looking great. Cersei thinks Boros looks gray when he stands guard outside of the small council chambers. When Cersei is at dinner with her son, Tommen mentions that Marjorie had been urging him to attend court. To which Cersei responds, how much she'd like to see the young queen's tongue torn out. Wow, a little overreaction, Cersei. Like, Tommen's like, well, I'm king. I never go to court. Marjorie thinks I should. And she's like, well, I think we should cut her tongue out. It's like, whoa. Ugh. Oh, my God. All right. So, yeah. How much you like to cut the young queen's tongue out. Tommen yells at his mother, which makes sense. And as a punishment for his outburst, this is a little messed up. She commands Sir Boros to oversee the lashing of the boy king's whipping boy by Tommen himself. Yeah, Pate the whipping boy, instead of just having Boros go beat him up, she's making Tommen do it. That's just messed up. Okay. So when Cersei frames Marjorie for treason, it's treason then. She plans on Boros being the only Kingsguard available if Marjorie asks for a trial of combat. Yeah, she just tries to get all the other ones busy. So if Marjorie wants a trial by combat, she gets Boros. As Cersei believes Boros would be no match for any champion named by the Faith, when Cersei inquires Osmond about Boros' fighting skills, sorry, I'm yawning, Osmond ensures that Boros is an inept fighter. Like, oh yeah, we can take Boros, not a big deal. Or whoever can. Boros and 10 Lannister guards escort Cersei to the Great Sept of Baelor. While they are outside and unaware, Cersei is arrested by the Faith, and later Boros is standing guard at the Red Keep when Cersei does her Walk of Atonement. Yeah. Boros watches. Boros guards Tommen when Sir Kevin Lannister, right, who takes over when Cersei's locked up, the Lord Regent, has dinner with Cersei and her young king. Boros appears heavier and in poor health. He has a difficult time standing for the duration of the meal, and he must lean on the wall for support. Boros escorts Tommen and his kittens to the royal bedchamber. There you guys go. Like I said, too long, too much, too long, Clanky, too long to talk about Boros Blount of all people. But yeah, we got one last slide. It's actually a pretty good one. I like what we got today. Tad bit of tinfoil. But yeah, let's get into it. So, is Boros being poisoned? Is he a cannibal? Yep. That's what we're doing. All right. So first off, I think the fact that Boros is looking worse and worse, and that he is a royal food taster, and no one is freaking out about this, is just crazy. Yeah. Cersei and Kevin, two POV characters, look at Boros and they're like, wow, he looks like crap. And neither of them connect that he is the royal food taster. And if he looks poisoned, maybe people are trying to poison Tommen. No one makes that connection, including some of the fan theories I found today. So yeah, let's talk about. I got a couple Reddit posts. I got 3, I think I'm talking about in general. So 2 Reddit posts and a Westeros.org. So there's a Reddit post called "What's Eating Boros Blount" by LChris24. What's up? This breaks down how they think that Boros is likely to die in winds of winter, which is very possible, and who the likely killers are. So there is also, I'm going to talk about both these at the same time because they're very similar. Also a Westeros.org post called "Who's Killing Boros Blount" by a name I couldn't remember. I don't know how to say it. Decimil. I don't know. I got it written here. It looks kind of hard to read. It looks like gibberish. I'm sorry. That poisoning. The posting. What they're pointing out. I think that's what I'm getting at. Likely killers as well. So yeah, they got a list of likely killers on this one. The main issue with both posts, my main issue with both posts, is that they're looking at who's killing Boros, right? And not who's trying to kill Tommen, and Boros is just eating it. Because what I think is going on is he's being poisoned, but the real target's Tommen. Yeah, so these posts are good. I just don't like that they're not thinking about how Boros is probably not the target. He's a royal food taster, right? No one's trying to kill Boros Blount, but they don't cover that. They cover who, if anyone's trying to kill Boros Blount, who the likely suspects were. And there's some cool ones, like Aliala and Chatea was like brought up, and then like the Martells are brought up, Sand Snakes, Cersei. There are people who are like, you would think maybe they just hate Boros and they're trying to get rid of, but the fact that I don't think Boros is the target. The royal food taster is looking poisoned. It's probably because he is tasting royal food that is poisoned. Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't know. So yeah. And then finally, we got a little bit of tinfoil for you. So, all right, now for some tinfoil. Wow, look at all these. Look at all these typos. Great. A Reddit post called "A Dark Secret of Boros Blount" by Everything M or Everything. This post breaks down his name. So according to the post, I didn't do any of this research on my own. I'm just taking this post at face value. Boros is derived by an ancient Greek and translated into English meaning eating or devouring, right? Now couple that with his last name, Blount, which is derived from Old French word meaning blonde or blonde or fair, right? The origins of this name are starting to point out a grim picture. That's right. This post thinks that Boros is going to eat Tommen, the devourer of a blonde. This is literally what this post says. It's insane. Just like, what? You think Boros Blount's just going to eat Tommen? Maybe. I don't know. Crazy. Oh my god. All right, there you guys go. This is my Boros Blount again. So I covered him a while ago, but this time I cover a lot more about the characters. I give them a lot more time, and I'm giving you my earlier videos a fair shake. These characters a fair shake now that I got my system down a little more. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, 40 minutes to talk about Boros Blount. I'll never get those 40 minutes back, and neither will you. Click thumbs up. Subscribe, yo. And yeah, that's it. I really hope Boros Blount doesn't eat Tommen. Peace.